So I've already posted a video which essentially shows how to do number one, but let's do this one, number eight. There's some interesting things here on number eight in that, just like with any of these, you've got to pick a starting point. That is, when t is 0, where are you? And then focus just on x to see if you can come up with a graph for x, and then focus on y for y. It's This one has some interesting aspects to it because I notice at this point right here, 0, 2, the graph passes through it 3 times. And I think it's obvious that this one from down below ends up above, but it's not at all obvious what happens with these other two. And I'm going to have to potentially try it 2 different ways. What I'm looking at is, do I pass through that arc? So I pass through that point, like from this really low negative up to this big negative, which actually looks pretty symmetric. It's like, -2.5 up to about 2.5, right? And then on the inside as well, do I look like that? Because that's about -1.5 up to 1.5. That's what I'm hoping happens. That's sort of a symmetric thing on either side. But maybe what's happening is you're going from this close one up to that outer one, and then loop through, and then from this inner one to that outer one. It's not clear to me which way that should go. So I'm going to try it one way and see what happens. Okay. But I do think that that is a good starting point. So I'm going to focus just on x, and I'm going to start at that point. So x is going to start at 0. So I've got x versus t here, and I've got y versus t there. Um, so x is going to start at 0, y is going to start at 2. Okay. Now, I've got to decide which way am I flying. Let's do this. I don't know if it really matters. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go out this big one up to 2.5 here. So it's going to start off, I'm going up to about 2.5, and then it comes down to about -1, and then up to just over 2, and then down to -3, and then up to about 1.5, and then down to 1.5, and then up to 3, and then down to -2, and up to about 1, 2, 1, and down to -2.5, and back to the start. Right. So a couple things I saw on that. One is I see some symmetry through the middle here, where this peak and this, that, that it feels symmetric about the middle point right there. So I like my starting point here, that this is also symmetric about the end, that going forward or backwards was kind of doing the same thing. Okay. I see in that, I see a smoothed out curve. I'm going from highs to lows. I'm taking the point in the middle. Highs to lows, taking the point in the middle. Take the point in the middle. All right, that this looks to me like I've got that purple curve running through there, which actually does 2 bumps of a sine curve. This looks like x equals the sine of 2x, sorry, 2t. It's the sine of 2t, and this was, yeah, maybe there's a question of how high is that. Um, the coefficient there, I don't know. Is it 1? Is it 2? I've got to figure that out. But on top of that, there's this extra wiggle. So what I see is they're both starting in the same spot here. So I feel like this is going to be a sine curve. There's one bump of a sine curve right there. There's 2 bumps, 3, 4, 5. It looks like I have 5 wiggles on that thing. So this is going to be a sine of 5t. Now there's going to be a matter now of, it looks like I got to add up to 3 at some point here, right? So either the main curve is amplitude 2 and the wiggle is amplitude 1, or maybe it's a 1 and a 2. I don't know. I didn't use any weird numbers. I don't think it would be a 1.5 to 1.5. I don't think so. I'm going to try each of those. Okay. So now that I've done that, I've got to go back and do the same thing with y. So starting in the same place, flying in exactly the same direction. Y starts off at 2, right? Y starts off right there at 2. And then I did the big bump first. So then it drops down to negative something here. So negative just under 1, or negative 1. And then it comes back up to about 3. Oh. And then it drops back down to the same spot there. And then it goes back up to 2. And then it comes down to almost negative 3. Back up to 1. Clear down to negative 3 again. I lost where I started. Here, down to there, way up to there, down to here, up to 2, down, up, down, and then I'm back to where I started from. Down, up, down, and then back. So what I see there, again, connecting highs and lows, not connecting highs and lows, splitting the difference between highs and lows. This looks like, well, this is aimed across there, so it's something like this. It feels weird to me, but it almost looks like a cosine curve. So I'm going to guess y equals cosine of t. Again, I don't know if this is a 1 or a 2. And on top of that, there's a cosine wiggle. So it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4 cosine. Cosine is 4t. And it's plus because I'm starting off above. Right? The actual curve starts above my smoothed out curve. So again, I don't know if this is a 2 and a 1 or a 1 and a 2, but let's try it. Let's go in here and type in, what did I think? I think this is 2 sine t plus sine of 5t. And I think this is maybe 2 cosine t plus cosine of 4t. And submit and see what it says here. So the y, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just looking to see how this even looks compared to what I have. It doesn't look good at all. This one, my Y values don't line up right. My Y value is starting up here at 3. I don't want to be up at 3. I only want to be up at 2. Okay. Let's try 1 and 2 on the X's here. Where's my submit button? There it is. Okay. Now my Y's are definitely wrong, but I like my X's, right? I'm looking at, well, they're not quite right. But I'm starting off here, and I see going out to there, which is pretty close to that one. Huh. See, I'm still debating as to whether I did the right thing with what the loops are doing. I know the Y is wrong, but I'm looking at lefts and rights, seeing, this and that lining up about right, this and this lining up about right, this. Well, there's 1, 2, 3 loops out here, and I'm seeing 1, 2, 3. They're not quite right. This one in here is close to that one. This one here is close to this one. That there's certain aspects of this graph right here that I think we did pretty well with. It's kind of upside down and backwards. So starting here, it goes up, down to negative. I think it goes up too high there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second video trying it another way.